Step in the ring, it's time to play. Coach Renee and Matt lead the way. Radical MMA brings the heat. The martial culture podcast can't be beat. Punches fly, minds collide. Technique and heart side by side. Tune in now, don't hesitate. The martial culture podcast, great and straight.
All right, Mr. Matt Peters, good to be back.
That's me.
So much to talk about.
Oh, yeah?
A lot.
I can't remember what happened.
Well, okay, so we were talking about the Aspinal-Gan and Tom Aspinall fight. Mm-hmm. And for the guys who don't know, it ended up in a disaster. Right in the first round, Aspinal-Gan brutally smashed Tom Aspinall's eyes. Now, everybody's like, oh, maybe it was an accident. It's possible. So it's possible it was an accident. I'm not saying it was intentional. But what does intentionality really matter, right? So I intend to be a world champion, but I'm not actually doing the work to be there. Mm-hmm. Like, what does that mean, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, intention is, I mean, I guess at some level, it's somewhat important. But at the end of the day, I believe in a much more utilitarian approach, a much more objective approach. What happened? Okay, that happened. Whether you wanted it to happen or didn't happen. Like, imagine if you got into a car and you got drunk and you didn't mean to hit anybody, mm-hmm. but you did, right? Yeah. Obviously, driving is bad, or you just drove erratically. Right? You didn't mean to hit it, but you still did. So you did something wrong, right? Mm-hmm. Intention, I guess, does matter at some level. But at the end of the day, it's what you did. And let me tell you, Matt, I watched the fight over a few times. He actually pokes him in the eye like 4 times. Mm. Like, because he's fighting like this with his hand out. He's just going like this, like Bruce Lee finger jab. I mean, it was like JKD right there, bah, Bruce Lee finger jab. And he hit him once when he was shooting, if I remember. He kind of shot in and he kind of like stuck his finger in his eye. Another one, he grazed his eye. And then the last one, it was like the Kung Fu tiger claw, like this. And he got both eyes. Ew. He got both. And it's like, and Gan's hands are big, and they went in. Now, Tom Aspinall said he couldn't see out of one eye completely, and the other eye, he could only see about 40%. Imagine fighting an incredibly tough MMA guy where you only have 40% vision in one eye.
That's not, you're not going to win.
You're not going to win. Like, you better be like so much better, right? Yeah. And especially like Gan has really, really, really long arms, and like to strike with him, you have to have your eyes on the target, you know, very precise, right? Hand-eye coordination. And everybody's been trashing Tom Aspinall because he's like, I'm not going to fight. And, you know, even a couple people I respect, they're like, oh, I lost the respect for Tom Aspinall. I'm like, have you ever been poked really bad in the eye?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, so if you don't know, like I've had it a few times. So I had this one student, and he was a complete spaz, and he did not cut his fingernails. They were like long and gross, and it's my fault that I didn't catch it, right? And he was very, very like spazzy, and we weren't even sparring, because in sparring I would have had my guard up and I would have defended myself. I was teaching him. So we weren't even sparring. I was like showing him move, but he was so incredibly spastic in his movements and unclean, which is something I should have caught. This was years ago. He goes, bop, and thumbs me right in the eye. And I felt the thumb back in my, almost to my, like in my ear. Whoa. Like that's what it felt like. And I've experienced some painful things in my life, right? But when you get, you know, corneal abrasion, that's what I had, you know, your cornea, you know what the cornea is, a part of your eye, right? Abrasion and retinopathy, which is like, you know, bad part of your retina. It is so freaking painful. I mean, it's like somebody lights a match in your eyeball and it never goes out. It's like a match burning in your eyeball. And it didn't start. And if anybody turns the light on, it feels like they're stabbing you with freaking Excalibur through your brain, right? I mean, it's like, it's so bad. So I had to sit in this dark room and I'm sitting there and I just want to pull my eye out of my head. Like literally, I'm like, would it be better to blind myself? Or, you know, like it was so freaking bad.
Sure,
and then,
nails were gross too.
oh yeah, and it got
dirty.
infected and everything.
Oh my
right?
God.
And that happened to me once in Brazil too, but it was good. It didn't hit me on the pupil. It hit me on the white of my eye, which was still pretty bad. Sure. But it wasn't quite as painful. But in Tom Aspinall's case, he saw the medical report. He had corneal abrasions, and they can be treated with like ophthalmic drops and stuff like that. So I personally got these drops and I had to put them in like 3 times a day. But on the first day, they said 3. I was putting them like 8 times a day because it was so painful, right? I just couldn't stand it. And the drops are the only thing keeping me sane. And I made it sit there and it hurt so much. I remember standing in front of a wall and just punching the wall because I was so angry and I just couldn't deal with the goddamn pain. And there's nothing you can do. It's like I tried to be zen about it. And I'm like, it's literally like your eyeball is on fire. And it's so bad. And that happened to me a couple other times because once you get it once, it's easier to get a second time. So I have a little indentation in my eye. So one time, this is not martial arts. I was with my friend's kid, his baby kid. He goes, bop, and he puts his finger right on my face. I'm like, oh. Now it wasn't as bad, but he hit the exact spot and he made it worse a little bit, right? So it was pretty, that one was bad too, right? I was like, oh, my friend's like, I'm sorry. I'm like, it's okay. Like,
Oh my God.
It's there. So imagine not just one eye, but you got it in both. And so there are a lot of people saying, oh, Tom was a, little wussy, not a good fighter. No fighting spirit. Yeah. The guy fouled you, right? I think he should have been disqualified right there. Thank God it was a no contest, but I think he should have been disqualified. And you know what they do? There's tons of eye pokes in the UFC. Not always this bad, right? But this is a really bad one. So that's why I think some people get poked in the eye. But like I said, I got it once on the white of my eye. It was not uncomfortable, but you can see because it's the white of your eye, right? Yeah. Right? Sometimes also inadvertently, especially when the gloves are bad, they're a little bit, there's like little pointy bits in the glove when they're a little old. The leather gets a little like kind of stiff and that can poke you in the eye too. That's not an eye poke, it's really a punch, but it still does the same thing. So you've seen it happen a lot, but mostly the eye pokes. Now, they're seriously talking about making, because it ruined the main event, but making a new rule. And I really think they should. Because literally, you should not be doing this. And Gan was like, do this all the time.
John Jones.
Yeah, John Jones too. And you know why they do it? You know why I want to ask you, why do you think they do that?
Is that judging distance?
That's true. That's a good point. Right. To what else?
Disorient, block their view.
Oh, that's a good. Yeah, I didn't think of that. That's a good answer. Yeah. You know what? A lot of times, guys put their arm out to judge the distance. But very often, if you judge the distance, you can just drop your hand and post on the guy's shoulder when he does a takedown. Particularly if you don't want to get taken down. If you're not confident in your defensive grappling, like Gan was. Or in John Jones' case, he's very confident in his defensive game, but he wants to post and then try to submit you or punch you or whatever, right? Like people say that John Jones did it intentionally. I don't know. And honestly, like I said, I don't care.
Yeah, don't do it.
Yeah, right. Like what they should do is if you do it once, it should instantly be taken from your purse, right? That's it. Like if you if you eye poke someone, it should be like, 5% from your purse. Win, lose, or draw, you lose 5%, right? Let me tell you, if they do that, people are not going to poke each other in the eye. Yeah. And the second thing is like it was weird because there's some eye pokes, right, where they're like, oh, can you continue? This not like, man, Tom Aspinall is like in pain, and it was not Joe Rogan, it was what's his name? Chubby black guy, training partner of Khabib.
Cormier?
Yes, Daniel Cormier, right? Cormier was like interviewing him. I'm like, let this guy go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Like, you obviously have never felt this.
Yeah.
And he's like, and the whole crowd booed Aspinall, and this it was not fair. Like, it should be like, there's an eye poke, you get a deduction, you lose the round for sure. You get a deduction in your purse. You do it again, you lose the fight. Yeah. Even if the fight doesn't stop. Like, you can't, it's not a death sport. Like, if you want to do death sport, let's go to Russia, we'll do death sport, right? That's great. Okay, I don't mind that.
There's a sport in Russia called death sport?
Not called, but they do crazy stuff
okay.
there. I mean, the stuff they do in Russia is insane. So it's like 5-on-5 in an obstacle course. MMA in an obstacle course, 5-on-5. And then there's no obstacles, there's like 10-on-10. And then there's weapons MMA. They wear knight's armor and they do MMA and weapons. That's crazy, right?
Russia's a whole nother world.
I know, right? And anyway, so I'm sure they have like eye gouging in some rule somewhere. Maybe we don't know where it is, but probably somewhere, right? Or they're like, whatever, and whatever happens, right? Yeah. And I will say this, a lot of people cheat. There are guys in the UFC that will look where the ref is, and then they'll see, oh, he's over there, and they'll stick their thumb right in the guy's eye at an angle the ref can't see. It's a very, very common thing because it stops the takedown pretty quick, right? If you're not expecting it. Mm-hmm. And people tried that on me, which is why in my fights, I shot a certain way where my head was up really high so they can't reach for the eye gouge. Because let me tell you, the one thing when I fought where you could not do is eye gouge and bite. Almost every fight, someone tried to eye gouge me, right? Because they just didn't want to get taken down, right? Like on purpose, right? Not every fight, but almost, right? And so I changed the way I fight, and I think also the guy should do that. But at the end of the day, it's a foul, and the damage to your eye is serious. Like, my eye will never be 100% again. It won't. The doctor's like, you got to watch your eye health. As you get older, I have to watch like the pressure in my eye, that my eye doesn't deteriorate. It was like one day where a guy was like completely spazzy and he just took a chunk out of my, cornea. I'm like, ugh. Yeah. And I'm okay now, it's fine. But I have to watch like what contacts I wear. If I leave my contacts in too long, it's not good,
Is there any like eye protection that would make sense, like goggles, or like, that would come off, it'd be probably difficult.
Yeah. I mean, it's like basketball, they do that, right? Yeah. I mean, it just would come off, right? I mean, that's also one of the reasons why I wear my contacts every time I train and fight, because it gives me a little bit of protection. Now, I've had my contacts come out in a fight, but at least my eye wasn't damaged. Like I always wear my contacts, which sounds weird because they're like, oh, you should never wear contacts. Like, I always wear my contacts, because like maybe a little shield where he's not going to touch my eye directly. And the time that I got that thing happen, I wasn't wearing my contacts, So maybe he would have damaged the contact, but not my eye, Maybe, I don't know. He came in pretty hard. Like, he was like, boom, right in my eye. And not even sparring. It was still like.
Did you beat that guy up after?
No, I did not. I said, you know what? I don't think this is for you. I'm like, you need to go do some Tai Chi or something.
You're fighting against Sabretooth.
Yeah, right. And it was like, he's just too like, Like, if you cannot control your spastic energy, and by spastic energy, I'm not using a derogatory term. Spastic energy is a medical term of involuntary muscle contraction, right? And that happens a lot with anxiety or nervousness or some sort of amygdala response, the fight or flight. And you just kind of get jerky, like spazzy kind of thing like that. So I'm not using that as a derogatory term. I'm using it as an actual term that describes a bodily activity, a body activity, right? A reaction that has no tactical or technical orientation or no thought behind it. It was just a nervous reaction in a jerking manner. And if you can't control that, then, you're never really going to be good at martial arts, right? It's a fact. You have to control that. And everybody has it a little bit, like the flinch response, like this is part of what we do. Like, it's to protect ourselves. So that's fine. Everybody has to do it, but you have to control it. This is why in striking, a lot of times guys will blink when you punch them. So you have to open your eyes and you have to let the guy punch your head lightly, but learn not to blink. That's very important. And that's one way to control that, like, stress spaz response, right? And you do it for not doing this and closing your eyes. So that's a small one. And everybody does that. Even I used to close my eyes when, like, see people come at me, punch, I'd kind of blink a little bit, especially when I was a kid. So you had to.
2 for flinching.
Right, exactly. I guess that's where it comes from, you know?
Maybe he needed a drink too, like that drunken boxing. Just take a drink and relax.
Yeah, relax. Yeah. You got to keep your eyes closed the whole time.
Just sense where people are.
Yeah. So anyway, everybody's crapping on Tom Aspinall, but I'm like, you could have gotten really hurt and you did the right thing. And he's in the hospital days later getting his eyes patched up, his eyes completely patched 3 days later in the hospital. The other one, seems like okay, but this one is patched up and you could tell he's just not doing well. No. I really feel sorry for the guy. That being said, Gan was doing well in the striking, right? That's why people are like, oh, you quit early. That's not true. John was doing well in the striking. Gan was doing well, quite well. Better than I thought he would do, actually. But that being said, Gan is a very good striker. That's what he is. He's a champion. And what Aspinall was doing was, I think, like feeling him out, seeing his go, well, let's see. And everybody, this is the problem with Aspinall, right? And everybody who has fights that are really short. So, I mean, like a lot of his fights, they ended very short. He just dropped the guy in the first round. So like this one, he had a little bit of a challenge. And they're like, oh, you see, you had a little challenge and you quit. No, that's not the case. That's not the case. Yeah. But because of people are judging, like, oh, you didn't. And he did shoot in once. And Gan did stuff it. Well, he poked him in the eye too there, but but he did stuff it, right? So, but you know what I believe. I'll show you. I'll send you a clip later. Maybe we can post it here. But you can see he's striking, and Gan hits him, and you know what Tom Aspinall's reaction is? What do you think his reaction when he got hit?
Ouch.
No, he was laughing.
Oh,
he was like, ha, nice one. Like, he was not nervous. He's like, yeah, nice one. Good job, right? Like, like he wasn't out of it mentally. He's literally smiling ear to ear before the thing. Yes, he was slightly losing. Not a blowout, but he was slightly losing. It was like, I forget what it was, like 14 significant strikes on Tom's end to like 19 or 20 on Gan's end, something like that, right?
Not a blowout.
Yeah, not a blowout. But like he was getting tagged. And people have not seen him get tagged ever like that. But legitimately, Gan has incredible reach, really, really, really good striker with a tough style that is highly mobile. It's really good. Like his striking is phenomenal. Aspinall's really good too, but I guess he's a little bit more orthodox, like not orthodox stance, but like just general, like traditional, like he looks like a kickboxer, right? Gan sometimes looks like a kickboxer, sometimes looks like a karate guy, sometimes looks like a savate guy. Like he's very interesting style. So I think in the beginning, Tom had to download some information like, hey, what should I do here? And yeah, he got clipped. But it was the first part of a 5-round fight. Yeah. Come on, man. You can't judge. So hopefully they do it again. And I still believe I'm bullish on Aspinall, But Gan did well, good for him.
Yeah. Good eye pokes, good guy.
I know, right? Exactly. Very good.
Yeah.
Should go into the Russian leagues.
Yeah. Death fighting.
Yes.
Dern won. I saw that.
Yes.
I didn't see the fight, but I saw it.
It was a really, 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 really action-packed fight. Yeah. Not my favorite fight because I think they just did a little too much damage to each other. But Dern is really, this is pretty impressive. She's the only woman to do this and only one of 2 people in the UFC to ever do this. So she won the highest level jiu-jitsu tournament. It was called the IBJJF World Championships. She won that title multiple times. She won the no-gi submission wrestling tournament called the Abu Dhabi ADCC. She was first place in that. And now she's UFC champion. There's no other woman who's done that. And there's no other guy except for one person, Fabricio Verdum. It's the only one ever to do it, to win the IBJJF, Abu Dhabi's gi, no-gi, and MMA. It's pretty amazing, right? I was like, you know what? And to watch her growth, it's inspiring because when she first came out, her striking was pretty terrible. And I would say even her wrestling wasn't like wonderful. And her grappling was still very good though.
Pretty bad at cutting weight.
Yeah, very bad at cutting weight, right. And had problems with her first team. She used to train out of this team called The Lab. And in, I believe it was Arizona with her boyfriend at the time, Tanquinho. And then she had a real problem with the coaches there, and they got mad at her and they kicked her out. And I don't really know what happened, right? But they just, like sometimes it's like that with coach and student. They just don't gel, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had this one student, great kid. He's a great guy. I don't think I'm a bad guy, but we were oil and water. Like I'm not his coach. And you know what? He went off, was very successful somewhere else. He wasn't really interested in MMA. That's really the problem, right? He was more in sports jiu-jitsu. So that's a big problem with me. But like we just weren't seeing eye to eye for mostly that reason. So he does sport jiu-jitsu and he's doing great. And good for him, No hate, great. You want something else, you don't want me, right? So I think with Dern and her original team, that was very hard. Then she went on to another team, and that team I think folded or something. And then she wound up with Parilla, Mike something Parilla, I forgot his name, but he's a striking coach. He coaches a lot of the fighters individually. He's very good. And he brought her hands up and he started training her. And you know what? I don't know if you know on a personal level what happened. So she got married, and it turned out that her husband, who was this surfer dude, was like an incredible douchebag and started like trying to smack her around a little bit and like verbally abusive, like really bad guy. So I don't think he got far with smacking Mackenzie Dern around.
Jesus.
But like it's bad. But it's funny because a lot of times like guy fighters, and I know male fighters, not just female, they get hit by their wives or and they're like embarrassed to talk about it because they're like, oh, well, how can I be? And they won't fight back because they're like, well, if I hit a girl. So a lot of times guys are being hit by their wives in abusive scenarios. And they feel powerless because they feel like, oh, if I fight back, I'm going to hurt my wife. But then they wind up getting domestic, being abused, right? That's really bad, right? So, but of course it was the other way around. But she was like, she divorced him, but then he sued her for a bunch of money, and she went into like serious financial distress. And you know what she was doing while she was fighting? She's doing Uber deliveries. So part-time job while fighting, and other jobs too. So she had like 3 jobs. It was the same with Pantoja too. That's wild. Because she had to make up all these like animal law, like legal payments and this and that, like paying her lawyers and this. And so you know what? To have her ride out that problem with her first camp, her problem with her weight cutting, her really not so good striking, and to evolve herself in the last 10 years into a very competent MMA fighter who is the only female to ever have the trifecta. Man, hats off to her.
Very
yeah,
impressive.
Exactly. Hats off to her. I was like not a big fan of hers, mostly because I felt her striking was really poor and her wrestling was a little off. But you know what? She's made great improvements. You got to respect that. Really respect it.
I felt at the beginning that she was like coasting off of her lineage a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe she grew up and just matured.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree with you. Like she was like, yeah, I'm Megaton's daughter and I'm a this and and although everybody said she's actually a pretty nice person, so I don't think
I'm sure
she's arrogant, but she's like, yeah, I'm Megaton's daughter. Megaton's, for the guys who don't know, is a very famous jiu-jitsu coach, like super amazing jiu-jitsu guy. And Mackenzie Dern is his daughter. So it's funny. They put them together. You're like, oh yeah, they are like, look very much like each other. And you're like, no question, they're related. Yeah. She's got his nose. And, yeah, I think she was, and there's also sometimes pressure from the jiu-jitsu world to showcase jiu-jitsu, even to the detriment of your striking, right? So you're like, oh, you got to show them that jiu-jitsu works. Well, no, you got to do what's efficient at that moment so that you can win the fight. At this moment, you probably shouldn't shoot because he's ready for you. You should punch him in the face, right? You got to play the MMA game. The era of single dimension fighting is over. So there are times where you have to like kick, you have to punch, you have to wrestle. Sometimes you have to get up off your guard, not play guard. And people who play single dimensionally, generally lose in the UFC. So, anyway, but she evolved. She's doing great. You're right. She grew up a lot. And she definitely, I think, hardship forged willpower in her. And let me tell you one more thing. This is one of the reasons I like women's MMA, generally speaking, is their sportsmanship is top notch. So the girl who won goes over and gives the girl who lost to Mackenzie Dern, right? I forgot her name now. She goes over, gives her a big hug, and then Mackenzie Dern brings her daughter into the cage, gives the belt to the daughter, and the loser winds up, hugging the little daughter too. And I was like, wow, that's like a really beautiful moment, where like they're just martial artists. They're sports. There's no trash talk, and this is like they both respect each other. They both had a great fight. They both lost and won with real class. And that's really nice. People complain a lot about the behavior in the UFC. So let's make sure we talk about when the behavior is good. And it's really good, really, really great sportsman behavior, very martial arty. They bowed. Mackenzie Dern and the other person bowed to their opposite corner coaches. Very respectful. Really, really great job. So, all those haters for MMA, right? Hey, it's not everybody's Conor McGregor, right? Of course, you're going to get those guys. But let's look at the people who are acting really well. And she's one of them. Not only one either, But anyway, so yeah, she did well. Now, totally different subject. Do you hear the huge news and the crisis in MMA now?
Nope.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you what happened. This was the fight afterwards. So this is to happen a week ago, right? Because we missed last week's show, right? There was a fight night, and there's this guy named Dilgarian, right? And he was the absolute favorite fighting this Spanish fighter, Del Valle, right? And he had so much more experience. He's like a jiu-jitsu ace, right, or something. I really don't know him that well, right? But he's like really, really, really like a heavy favorite. The couple days before the fight, the betting lines flip in Del Valle's favor by over $15 million. Like in an hour, right? It was crazy. So one of the UFC's partners, it's like betting integrity or like sports integrity organization. I forgot what the name was, like ISAA or something like that, right? It's this thing that monitors gambling, right? They flagged it and they called Dana White and they're like, something's weird with this fight because the betting lines just flipped crazy. Everybody's betting against the favorite by millions of dollars. So Dana White calls Dilgarian's camp and says, is he okay? What's going on? And he's like, no, he's fine. Is he injured? They're like, no. Right? Did you know about this? They're like, no, we're ready to fight, ready to go. So then the fight happens. And let me tell you, this guy Dilgarian is a very experienced grappler. I didn't know this at the time. I wasn't familiar with him, so I won't say like I knew it. He does like the worst shot ever, winds up getting his back taken. Now, if I'm choking you, right, Matt, what's the first thing you're going to do if I'm trying to choke you with one hand? Right? I'm trying to finish the choke. What are you going to do to not let me choke you?
Pull your arm off?
Exactly. Right. Grab my arm. So he's grabbing the arm, and you can tell he's stopping the choke. And you know what he does? He just lets go. Like he has the arm and does this. And the guy's like, And Daniel Cormier was like, that is the worst hand fighting I've ever seen. And I wasn't like paying that much attention to the fight up until that moment. And then Daniel Cormier screams like, what is this guy doing? This is just terrible. He's not doing any proper defense. And legitimately, he was right. He was like not defending in a logical manner. And Cormier was saying, wow, this guy's not well trained and this like that. But he is. So it's very fishy. It was a first round stoppage.
Oh, he lost.
Yeah, he got choked.
Oh.
And immediately, the UFC called the FBI.
Oh.
Right away. They cut Dilgarian right away.
Oh, damn.
And the FBI is investigating because it looks like it was fixed. And there's some experience of people fixing fights in combat sports quite often, right? And usually it works like this. It's not like the two people, you approach both people, and one, they say, okay, we're going to make a fake pro wrestling fight. It's not usually how it works. They just tell one guy to take a dive, right? And that has happened before. So, do you remember Don Fry? Don Fry fought in 1996 against Anthony Macias. And Don Fry did not know this. Like, legitimately, he thought Macias was coming into a fight. It was like a Grand Prix tournament, so they're fighting more than one fight a night. And for some reason, whether it's the promoter at the time, which was not the same as today, I don't really know, but for some reason, Macias was encouraged financially to take a dive so that Fry would advance to the championships fresh to fight in the championship fight. And he wound up winning, and Macias totally took a dive. Though it was hard to tell back then because people were not super well trained, right? They were maybe they didn't know to grab the hand, they didn't know, right? But he loses. And then there was another example of this. It was a fight in Korea where I believe the Korean mafia approached one of the Korean fighters to take a dive, and he did. And but I found out, and he was cut, and people went to jail and everything. So hopefully this gets cleared out. But one of the commentators that I listened to is saying something very interesting. Because everybody's saying, the fighters are taking dives because they're not getting paid enough. And, there might be some logic to that. But I think that there's more, that what this person says, this influencer said, or, online guy said, might be very true, is it easier to bribe a fighter or is it easier to bribe a ref? The refs don't make much money because the UFC doesn't pay them. And there's so many bad calls from refs. I remember, even in the Duplessis Hazmat Chimaev fight, Chimaev's on top of him towards the end of the fight, pinning him, dominating him in pretty much top crucifix. And then the ref just says, stand up. I'm like, dude, that's action. What are you talking about? And I remember somebody stood, it wasn't John Jones, but somebody had full mount, and they're punching, and the ref said, stand up. I'm like, that is terrible. Yes, some of these refs are legitimately terrible refs, and they just don't know what they're seeing. But it also could be, especially with certain refs, it could be that they were approached to, guide the fight in a certain direction, right? And especially when they're weird bets, not who wins, but, the fight goes 5 rounds or something, right? The fight doesn't get finished, or it gets finished, or whatever, right? Or it gets... So it is very possible that organized crime has weaved its way into this because now the betting is so...
Betting culture is crazy.
Crazy now, yeah, it's crazy. And... It seems like it's a little too much, I enjoy putting some wager down on the UFC once in a while because when I have a little bit of skin in the game, it makes it a little bit interesting and things like that. But obviously, it's just more to make me really take my research seriously, right?
Interesting.
And we never bet that much money, And
I watch or pay more attention to football these days, and there's a lot of obviously betting in football, and they'll be similar to where does it get finished? Does it go 5 rounds? Something like that. And they'll be the money, how many points does the other team score? And there was a game, I think, last weekend in college where the team was up by a lot, but the amount of points that one team had to get to where a lot of people would make money was a certain point. And somebody had the ball and they were running for a touchdown, and then he just stopped on the 1 yard line. But they did it people are saying, did he do it because they didn't want to score? To make the betting more advantageous for them, but it also it keeps the clock going so that the game is over sooner. So it's a good tactic sometimes, but it's just so interesting that what could be fake and what could be a work.
Yeah, and betting ruined Muay Thai. Oh. So Thai boxing in Thailand, betting ruined it because then the fighters kind of would not fight hard the first round, and they would look to fight certain ways to up the betting and the gambling, and people took dives all the time. So, and organized crime ruined MMA in Japan because Japan, takes martial arts very seriously. And then K1, which was one of the promoters, and Pride was another, but it's mostly K1. I don't really know that much about Pride, but I know the Yakuza had their influence in there, but with K1 it was really strong, and they had some weird fights, and also the founder of K1, Ishii, wound up going to prison for years for tax evasion, because he was under the table being an organized crime guy, making tons of money and not reporting that income. And that's how they got him, because they couldn't quite prove it. Like the way they do it for Al Capone, like they couldn't quite prove all the things, but they said, well, you got all this money, you didn't pay tax on it. So he actually went to prison for tax evasion, but he was quite connected to the Japanese mafia, and it ruined it. It sullied K1, it ran them out of business, and they could never get TV contracts anymore. And it made people sour on MMA a lot in Japan, because it's like, no, it has to be pure. With the Yakuza involved, it's not cool. And so, like we got to make sure that like these nefarious elements don't get a foothold on this because of the gambling culture, I mean, what's like, who'd want to see a fake sport, like it would just completely ruin it. Dana White's taking it very serious. I mean, he immediately called the FBI, so good for him, But anyway, I think he knows, like, if it comes up, it's the one thing that could really ruin fan enjoyment of the sport. Like if people think it's just rigged, nobody's going to watch it anymore, And, but that being said, like, it's like in the UFC, it's 3 fights out of, what is there, like 50,000 fights now in the UFC. Like it's like 3, I don't know, it's 60,000, but it's a lot of fights. A lot of fights since 1992. Like all the fighters on the undercard, all of them combined, there's like a fight a weekend. There's like at least 10 fights on every card, and there's at least, usually there's more. Yeah, usually it's like 15 or 20. And then there's a fight every weekend, So it's like what, like 2,000 fights a year, not to mention like Ultimate Fighter, that's, who's going to be the champion, like all the things, the shows that they have, right? Yeah. Those are fights too. Yeah. So, all those fights, and the, organized crime was only really found out for 3. Okay, that's good. Let's just hope that it stays there and the refs are, like not being bought out or anything, right?
Yeah. Remember when the UFC used to have like 3 fights a year?
I know, right? And it's interesting because it's like a totally different business. But do you know the UFC is not going to be on ESPN anymore?
No.
They signed a contract with Paramount, and they're going to get rid of pay-per-views completely. That's their business model. And I always said it. It's like they want to turn MMA into what basketball is. That was their model. So what is basketball? I mean, I don't watch basketball, but it's like every weekend there's a couple games and everybody tunes in, whether it's Friday night or Saturday or whatever. I don't know what basketball is. They tune in and everybody knows, and they go and they watch the games, and it's like a weekly kind of experience versus an event. So the 3 fights a year, the 3 shows a year makes those 3 shows an event, right? Just like a boxing matches are always an event. Canelo versus Crawford. Well, my God, it's an event, right? MMA did not want that. They wanted to be part of the sports culture that you enjoy on a regular basis, pretty much every once a week. And that's always been their goal. Yeah. And so that's why they have so many fights now. They want you to just tune in and watch fights. And that actually helps them, because it's like less about the star power and more about the experience of enjoying the sport. And that's a smart business strategy. And they're getting rid of pay-per-view so that everybody can just watch it on Paramount. You're going to need Paramount Plus. So it's still like, but you also need ESPN plus the pay-per-view. So it gets expensive. But this is Paramount, and the fights will just be on there. That's it. And then they're doing, I think they have some agreements with Netflix for their UFC boxing now, because Canelo Crawford was promoted by Dana White too.
Wow.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Interesting.
That being said, it's like, I don't know. I think boxing and pro wrestling and MMA should stay separate, but it seems that the holding company of the UFC, Endeavor, they're roping all these combat sports together, and they're going to see them as synergistic with each other. And that's to me a problem. It's like you lose the identity. It's not combat sports. It's MMA's MMA, boxing's boxing. They're very different. And obviously pro wrestling is just like crazy entertainment. You know, like not fighting.
There's so many fights.
Yeah.
Can't keep track of them all.
Yeah.
Who watches all that stuff?
I actually watch. I don't think I miss many fights because I think I watch it 90% of the time. Obviously, if I have like a family engagement or something like coming forward, the big one that's coming up, Makachev and JDM, which is huge. Can't wait for it. That I might have to miss because I have a family engagement that day. But I'll catch on the rewind because it's gonna be great. I just gotta stay off social media completely and make sure I don't find out what happens. But I usually hit them all because I feel like I have to stay on top of the evolution of the sport and what's going on and see what people are doing right and doing wrong. And though that being said, I don't watch the entire fight card. Like the lower level guys, I don't really watch so much.
I wonder, like when you're comparing like a UFC or MMA in general to basketball, like if like I'm a fan of the Chicago Bulls, so I watch all the Bulls games, and maybe I don't watch the Knicks games. How would you even do that? Like, I know they have teams in UFC, but like they're not really like. I'm not watching.
No, yeah, you're not
American
watching the shoot boxing. Yeah, exactly right. So that's a good question. They tried city-based MMA teams in PFL. Originally was like that. It was, and then before that was another one. Goes back. It was IFL. Right, that goes way back, right? So they had IFL was the one who started. They'd have New York versus LA, the LA Barbarians versus the New York Warriors, or whatever. And it was like a 5-on-5, not at the same time, but it was the two teams fight, and the team with the best win-loss record moves on to the next stage.
That's interesting.
And it was not popular at all. Huh. Like they went out of business. Like nobody wanted to watch it. Wow. So I think at some level, the event, the star power of the fighters does matter.
Yeah.
You want to watch John Jones. You want to watch, look, I want to watch Makachev, and I want to watch anytime Pantoja fights, I'm going to watch it. Yeah. Like that guy is really good, and it's great to watch.
Something like gymnastics, where there's like a gymnastics team and they each do a different event. Like someone's really good at the parallel bars and the other person's really good at the other gymnastic thing. And so you could have like 5 guys, and in one night they each fight. Or what if you did 5 rounds, 5 different guys? And each round.
Each round was a different combination. Yeah. So it's it's funny because there's a grappling tournament that's sort of like that. It's guys of different weight classes. And then it's like the 2 light guys fight. And then the middle guys fight or whatever. It was a little different, but basically the same thing. You can tag the other guy to come in if you need to, right? But yeah, it's like it was basically like, yeah, it was a team where everybody fights. That's interesting. Yeah. I think the problem with that is, if you only have one round, that's 5 minutes. Like, what are you gonna do in 5 minutes? It's gonna change the game too much, Yeah. Right? It's like, okay, I'm going to fight just for 5 minutes. Okay, then you don't even have to worry about getting tired. Go crazy for 5 minutes, you'll be fine. Right? If you have to fight for 15, that's true. Actually, I think it's Dan Hooker has this thing. It's like 1 minute fights. So they like fight all out for a minute. And it's like completely crazy, right? Yeah. Like it's like much less technique and more like rock'em sock'em robots. Yeah. But interesting, has some validity because a street assault can be on you like a hurricane, and you have to be able to deal with that power. But at the same time, it changes the nature of the sport too much.
I just personally,
I don't even like 15 rounds. I think what they should have 5-minute rounds. I think there's one 15-minute round. That's it. No break.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
The thing that always got me hard to like keep up on MMA stuff was like there'd be like 5 guys I really like, but they fight like once every 6 months, if that. Like John Jones, he fought like once every 10 years.
Yeah.
And, there's just too many guys and not enough people that are like really exciting to me.
Yeah. You're right, because there was a time where MMA, the UFC, I should say, had some major star power. You had Ronda Rousey, who, for better or for worse, was a major star, right? Major star. You had Conor McGregor, again, for better or for worse, huge draw. And then you had, at the same time, I think you could say John Jones was a draw too. And to some extent, I would say Anderson Silva was, at that era. So you had like these guys that were aura-like.
Yeah, Brock Lesnar versus
Brock Lesnar. Yeah.
That
crazy.
was an amazing fight.
Yeah, crazy. Right. Yeah, like
rivalry.
Yeah, so right now, I think you don't quite have that same level of, oh my God, it's Conor McGregor, right? You know, and maybe that's a good thing though, because
I'm sure it is.
You know, because like to get to that star power, sometimes you have to be a little bit of a douche, like he was. You know, Ronda Rousey also, like behavior wise, a lot of behavior that's not cool. You know, especially recently. I don't know if you ever heard she said just like crazy. Yeah, she might want to come back. Don't come back. You'll get killed. She's really jealous of Khabib. It's crazy, right? She's really jealous of Khabib. And she's like, the reason why every MMA fighter sucks Khabib's you know what is because he retired before he passed his peak. He's like, if he kept fighting past his peak and he lost, people are like, oh, Khabib wasn't crap. That being said, so you just said logically you should retire on your peak. Right? Like,
and your peak was a long time ago.
Yes, yeah, and at your peak you still lost.
Yeah.
You know, like
that's how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to go out on top.
Yeah, right. I mean, like what you're saying as criticism makes no sense.
Yeah.
What you're saying is something very logical. That he
retired. Yeah.
He retired on top.
You know what he remembers?
He took no brain damage, and he did great.
When Michael Jordan was on the Wizards, nobody talks about that. We always talk about before he came back. Exactly. Nobody cares about that.
Yeah. And so her like trash talking Khabib is just ridiculous, right? It makes no sense, right? So it's just sour grapes. But that being said, she was a star in her day. You know, good for her. You know, and I'll tell you, like, not for Americans as much, but for the former Soviet Union world and the Muslim world, the draw of Khabib was, I mean, incredible, right? You know, like they huge fan base there. Yeah.
Who
So
do you
I
think's
mean,
the most famous or well-known UFC fighter right now?
who's still fighting?
Yeah, like if you said his name in a room of 10 people, 8 of them would know who he was, even if they weren't like UFC fans.
That's a great question.
I can't think of anybody, but I don't watch it very often.
Sean O'Malley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, probably Sean O'Malley.
Okay.
He's like, you know, very.
He's out there.
He's out there, and he's like he actually got rid of social media, but he was very out on social media a lot, and you know, like had his image and his brand. I would say Sean O'Malley, and definitely Ilya Topuria. That guy is now the next coming star. Like he really is. Okay. I don't know if he's gonna like he has to win at 155 now, but he's got you know the what does they call pros, the shine. He's got that thing, you know that charisma, the riz. You know, like he's got it. You know, he's really something. And I would say that he doesn't really act like a douchebag, but he's just like incredibly confident. And he does talk. Sometimes he says things he you know, is a little critical of the Khabib team and things like that. But at the same time, like it's true. Like that's what he believes. It's not trash talking. He legitimately believes that. He's like, well, you know, I think they're overrated. I think I'll beat them. Well, that's not really trash talking. That's just what you believe, right? You're not saying like Conor McGregor was like saying Khabib's dad was a terrorist. I mean, that's like terrible, right? It's like awful. Yeah, so I would say Ilya Topuria is going to be the next big breakout star, especially if he continues to win at 155 and eventually challenges Makhachev. But we'll see and if Makhachev beats JDM, that's going to be amazing. So, you know, Makhachev's a 155er, but he moved up to 170. He has no fights at 170. And JDM is one of the toughest, most technical strike boxers in the UFC. It's just really good boxing and good takedown defense, preparing for it a lot. Has a lot of people from Australia. A lot of people in Australia are helping him get ready because Volk fought Makhachev. Craig Jones has coached against the Dagestani team a lot. So they're all getting together and helping JDM to beat Makhachev, right? And they're gonna fight here in New York.
Yeah, next week, right?
On the 15th, yeah. Right. It's crazy. And you know what? I'm very excited for the fight. I can't wait. Tough fight for Makhachev. Tough fight. Leaning 51% Makhachev.
Wow.
Yeah. Like 55% maybe. Okay, something like that, right? But like, it's tough. It's a very tough fight. Like, it's a very tough fight.
Yeah.
But you know what? If he pulls it off, he'll be one of the best MMA fighters to ever do it. Right?
Wow.
Like crazy.
No pressure.
Yeah. Like one of the, I wouldn't say the best. Like George St. Pierre did it. He went up to 185 and took the title. Good for him, in one fight. Like he fought Bisping and made Bisping look like an idiot.
Wow. Bisping.
Yeah. I mean, it's good though, right? I mean,
He looks
no
like an idiot most of the time.
Yeah. I mean, but as a fighter, yes, that's
Speaking
true.
of eye pokes.
Yes, exactly, right? Like Bisping lost his eye.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And actually, he was one person that came out in Tom Aspinall's favor. I mean, everybody's saying, oh, it's because you're a Brit. But no, because he got eye poked. He understands how bad it is.
Yeah.
And imagine you got eye poked and then you couldn't see a blow coming and then you took some really serious damage. Man, you're going to have that damage for the rest of your life.
Yeah. So dangerous.
Yeah. Anyway, so we talked about the eye poke. We talked about the betting scandal. Now we talked about JDM and Makhachev. Can't wait for it. Really looking forward to it. Also, we're in the middle of like guys fighting, getting ready for fights in December. So we're all
When's
excited.
Devin fighting again?
The December 12th, I believe, 12th or 13th.
Beautiful.
Right, yeah. And fighting to defend his title at 145. And I'm excited.
Very
Excited, yeah. So back on the horse.
Who else is on the fight next week?
It's, wow, this is a good one. Wei Li Zhang versus the Shevchenko, right. That's also another one because Shevchenko, I think, at her prime would beat Wei Li, but she's not at her prime anymore. She's like past her peak. She's doing well, but she's
37.
Yeah, she's been fighting for a long time, and the last fight she had, she won, but I felt that she didn't look as like she used to. Like you're like, oh wow, it's she's not what she was. So Wei Li is really, really, really strong, really powerful, really good striking. And actually, she's taken the last 5 or 6 years to master the ground fighting game. And she's done a great job. In one of the last fights, her grappling was astoundingly good. Astoundingly good. That being said, a lot of these female fighters, I think, are doing performance-enhancing drugs. I can't prove it. But there's a bunch of Chinese female fighters who are punching so freaking hard for their weight class. It's insane. So when Wei Li fought Djurdjic's face looked like she was a space alien. You remember that, right? That doesn't happen at 115 pounds for girls. It doesn't happen, right? That only happens if you have God-given heavy hands or you're doing something you shouldn't. And there's some fighters who definitely, now that being said, I can't prove it, but there's also another one, this Chinese fighter, and she punches so freaking hard. And you know what? I look at her form and her form isn't that good. So how is she punching that hard? She's only a small girl and her form is good. Well, she must have some advantage. So, and unfortunately, many athletes in many sports from China have been caught. China and Russia have been caught, with doping scandals. So it's not outside the realm of possibility that they're assisting the Chinese fighters. That being said, there's no proof. She's never failed a drug test, so you never know. Could be they're just they're doing something and they're just really heavy-handed. It's possible.
Keep that FBI's phone number.
I know, right? But I'm interested to see, and yeah, I don't really have a dog in the fight, but I guess I'd like to see if Shevchenko win. But Wei Li, if she's clean, then she's a great fighter, and I respect her. Definitely took a lot of time to round out her game really well. Yeah, there's also, another thing. I don't know if you see Wei Li picked up Shaq.
No.
Yeah, she picked him up. She picked him up. She's tiny. She picked up Shaquille O'Neal. Like, not fighting, but she just picked him up.
He's got to be like 400 pounds.
Yeah, she just lifted him. And you're like, whoa, how is this munchkin lifting this giant? It's like, it's crazy.
That's nuts.
It's like,
Yeah, someone investigate that.
Yeah.
Check her pee.
Anyway, so that's it. Yeah, no, right. Not me. No thanks.
I'm out. All right.
All right.
Good stuff.
Good stuff.
We'll see you guys next week.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Lessons learned and battles won. The journey's long, but we've begun.